Did you know that it is Wednesday, my dudes? I'll be showing how to make a Python script that automatically runs whenever your computer boots, and then if the condition is met, it actually runs the code, otherwise it simply terminates. This logic can be used if you want code to run automatically without having to remember to turn it on, and then simply if the condition is met, it terminates. I made a new Python file using PyCharm as my IDE. The first thing I need to do is to import datetime in order to grab the current date. This is used, for instance, if you want code to run every Monday or the first day of the month, which means you need to check if the month is different from the last time you updated. For now, I'll simply grab today's date. Right now, I simply want to print what the weekday of today's date is, so we can see how to use this to make a condition. The important thing to note here is that you're going to get the answer 2 because Wednesday is the third day of the week. Python is index 0, which means the third day of the week is actually 2, which is why I will add that as a comment. At this point I can start with my condition, which is simply that if today's date, weekday, if that is identical to 2, which we just confirmed it is when it is Wednesday, then I want some condition to run if it is Wednesday, and otherwise, if it isn't Wednesday, then I simply want it to terminate. And actually we could turn this around and say, rather than this, I want to say if it isn't equal to 2, then I want to exit. Because that way we don't have to have the code within an if statement, which is ugly to look at and can be confusing because of indentation. So right now it simply says, hey, if today is not equal to Wednesday, terminate. And at this point we can add the following code on these lines, which means that right now nothing happens if I do this. So we can just add a print statement to say, hey, it is not Wednesday. And right now it is the second day when you have an index 0 based, which means nothing happens because it terminates. So we can now say, hey, it is Wednesday. But personally, I think it's ugly to have this be written in my command prompt. I'd rather have a pop-up, which is why I found, thanks to Stack Overflow, there's a library within Python already called ctypes, which comes from the programming language C. And I don't really need anything except for a pop-up box, which I've just copy-pasted from someone else. Which means instead of this print, I'm going to replace that with this code, which just gives me a simple message box, the one you saw at the beginning. Here it's simply, it is not Wednesday, which is the text in the pop-up. And I can say the title is not Wednesday and comma 1. And then I can just copy this and put that down here. So if it isn't Wednesday, you get a pop-up saying it is not Wednesday. If it is Wednesday, you get a pop-up saying it is. And at this point, if we run it, we will get exactly what I showed at the start. It is Wednesday. Of course, you'll also have a command prompt open in the background showing you, hey, this code is running, but the moment you say okay, it terminates. So this is the simple part 1, to have code automatically run. But at this point we need to save a shortcut to this file in my startup folder in order to run it at the when I turn on my computer, which we get to the startup folder by holding down Windows and pressing R to open up the run, and then typing in shell :startup, which will get me my startup folder. And at this point you need to take the code, which I call Wednesday checker copy, and then you just need to drag it over here and say create a shortcut, which means this will run automatically, and then I need to make sure that it opens with Python. And then this is what happens if you open it. So when my computer boots, this is what I will get if it's Wednesday. But of course I don't actually want to have these because that's a bit annoying. So I can just delete them. But that is part 1. simply showing how you can get code to run automatically whenever you turn on your computer, and then getting a fun little message box if it's Wednesday